Pastor Emer and myself traveled to Guatemala when I first took over the missions position. The goal of that trip was really to see where Christ Wesleyan had been in the past, how much of an impact we have had in Guatemala, and also where God would lead us down the road. We spent 40 hours in the car driving all over Guatemala, and we saw one area that one of the pastors, Pastor Elias, that we work with quite a bit in Guatemala. He does ministry in this new area. It's about 3 hours away from the lake area that we typically go to, and he's been doing ministry down there, working with a church community down there.
He came to me and said, "Hey, Pastor Emer, I have a place in the southeast." And I said, okay, the only thing we need to do is to pray.
They have built a small temporary church. It was on rented land. They were seeing more people come to Christ, more people joining their church family.
I remember when Pastor Elias was sharing his vision, even this piece of land, the owner was selling, but in the middle of the pandemic, they were saving some money. They were doing many activities just to have enough money and buy this piece of land. It's a great blessing to see. Even we were in the middle of the pandemic, and they bought the piece of land. And they didn't just buy. They started to work to have a new building.
February of 2023, 32 of us traveled down to Guatemala and spent a week there in Wesleyan.
I was really inspired by the thought of planting a church in a village that didn't have that available to them, that they could really gather together, and just seeing around the lake region where we went before, how the church that Christ Wesleyan planted over 20 some years ago had really allowed that area to flourish, thinking about how this investment could impact that town. That was really part of the vision that I was inspired by and wanted to be a part of.
They had already done a lot of the construction, built the walls, set the foundation, leveled out the site around. So we just needed to go in and help continue what they had already started.
This was my first ever mission trip. It was amazing.
It was amazing just to look at how much they invested in that project before we even got there. The passion they had about making that available for their town. So it was really neat to pull up and see all that they had done, but then to think about what we could help them accomplish as we went forward.
Some of my jobs was mainly with the construction. I was just filling in wherever I was needed. I was there as a lot of grunt work, labor work, and I think that was a fun part of it because I got to see a lot of aspects of helping build this church in different areas instead of just one specific area.
A lot of the construction-oriented projects, whether it was finishing the wall, helping to put the rafters on, building stairs into the church, so worked with different members of the team to do some of the construction aspects of the project, but also working alongside some of the members of the church community. It was neat to be able to use some of my limited Spanish to converse with them and build relationships throughout the week that we were working together.
So I did construction, I did some school projects, and we worked with the kids just on the construction site. Did a lot of cleanup, a lot of cleanup crew, digging out stairs for the walkway down to the creek, concrete, water. I felt like the woman at the well one day, just filling up buckets all day long. All things that I just, wherever the need was.
During that week, we had gotten a lot done. We didn't get as much as we had hoped or thought we would get done, but the relationships that we had built during that week were amazing. The men that we worked alongside of during the construction, the ladies that we worked with, preparing meals and doing the work there. We also were able to go into the schools and work with the kids.
The principal and the teachers, they were very open to share the gospel. But with my wife, she loves to work with children because the children, they are like a sponge. They are believing everything that you are teaching. And for me, it was a wonderful privilege, not just to teach Spanish, to play with them, but the most important thing we did was to share the gospel. And what's beautiful to see when the children, they were praying the prayer of salvation, and with tears in their eyes, and was beautiful to see. I have many memories. It was a wonderful blessing. And that's the thing, if you are sharing the gospel with the children are going to go and share with the parents. And the parents are going to ask, do we have a place to go? Lord willing, we are going to see many parents from this school to attend the Wesleyan Church.
Eileen and Wilner were just two kiddos in particular that just really, I just really connected with. The start of the week, there's the language barrier, and I think that can be intimidating, but there's also love language, which can happen across any, there's no border for that. You kind of find yourself on the job site the first day, and of course you don't know anybody in the village yet, but the parents are there and they're so grateful. They're trying to find ways to show that gratitude. And so you're kind of connecting with them first, and whether it's they're serving you a drink or a tea or food or whatever. And then there's the children that are kind of lingering around the site, and they're so excited because you're someone new, you're someone different, you're someone white. It's different for them. We just found ourselves connecting with the kiddos in the way of they sort of, next thing you know, you look down and there'd be a kiddo on your right side and you're like, oh, hey, and then you look down and then there's three more on your left side. And then next thing you know, you've got like a small classroom of kiddos that are really interested in communicating with you. And so how do you do that when there's that language barrier? You find other ways. I mean, we did coloring, and we were blessed with people on the trip who really packed up making bracelets and doing things like that, and doing crafts with the kids, which was amazing.
We took down, as a group, we each took an extra suitcase with clothing to give away to the people down there at the village. That was one of my most exciting parts of the whole trip, as it was better than any Christmas morning I've ever had. Seeing these people getting clothing that they didn't have. We actually had a sewing machine donated. We took the sewing machine back to the ladies. We asked them, who did the sewing in their group of ladies, and there must have been a dozen ladies there. And when we asked who did the sewing, they all pointed to one lady. And she said that she had not been doing any sewing for weeks because her machine was broken and could not get it fixed. And we presented her with a new sewing machine, and she was very, very happy.
The last night that we were there, we wanted to have a service there in the church that we had just been working on throughout the week.
It was an amazing, powerful experience. I mean, God blessed the weather. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening. We also got to see the relationships that were built throughout the week. I mean, we were sitting with the families that we were serving with throughout the week, and they wanted to sit with us because they wanted to be a part of that celebration together.
I kind of stood back and watched the people come in. It started out slow, but then word of mouth spread, and you've seen all these people congregating in. The church was that full that I moved outside so people could take my spot inside. And then the people, they started setting up benches outside where they could look through the door to watch the service. That was just so cool that the inside of the church was full, and there was about 30 or 40 people outside.
Many people were like more than 100 people that night, and I think 13 or 18 came to Christ for the first time. But the thing I was so blessed was the neighbors. One more time, we didn't have enough chairs. We were like just lumber and blocks, but one neighbor brought some plastic chairs, and was a wonderful blessing. Even we didn't have roof, but we have a beautiful service, and was an amazing thing.
And so we wanted to have a last night with them, worshiping together with them in this new church. And so that night, 173 people came into the church for the very first time. And we worshiped together, we shared together, and then we were able to hand it over to them. And now they have a church where they can meet. As a result of that trip, over 50 people came to know the Lord. Moving forward, we would love to go back to Guatemala, and we plan to go back hopefully in January or February of 2024. We're going to be going into the school and doing a lot of work with the children there, helping out clean up the school, paint the school, or possibly put a playground in for them, give them some more equipment to play in their courtyard area. We would love to be able to go down and give them a basketball hoop or a soccer goal to play with. God calls us to share the light of Jesus Christ with our world. Going on a missions trip is an area where we can reach those that have not been reached, especially in this new area. When we go to Guatemala, this area has not seen teams come in before to help out. When we are going to Guatemala, we're going into areas that have not been reached before. And we are smiling with people that have not seen anybody come in and share with them and just be able to love on them and care for them. That is very impactful for them and us, that we're able to communicate with them just the love that God has for us and the love that we want to share with them.